Coming up on Mountain News this morning, we'll take a look at a close-to-home story of how deadly heart disease is. And Mammoth Cave is educating the Commonwealth about the men who explored the cave.
Dedicated to Eastern and Southern Kentucky, this is WYMT Mountain News this morning.
Good morning, I'm Olivia Calfee. The time is 6 a.m. on Monday, February 19th. Now let's check in with meteorologist Tim Drawbridge for a look at your forecast this morning.
Good morning, Olivia, and good morning, everyone. Okay, last hour, our producer Rory needs to make a little apology. He wanted me to make sure, just because when we had the first alert opens, they had red on them. It's not a first alert day. It is if you haven't had enough coffee, but hey, that's what happens when you work in the TV and the radio biz. Nonetheless, check out the view outside our WYMT studios. We're in the 20s, and yes, it's a little bit chilly when you end up looking over toward portions of southwestern Virginia. We'll look at that in just a moment. And yes, after the frigid weekend, guess what? It is going to be looking nice temperature-wise over the next few afternoons with no chance of rainfall until Thursday. Now let's look over toward southwestern portions of Virginia. Clintwood at 17. Jacksboro now in Tennessee has dropped to 19. 20 at Manchester. It's dropped to 19 at Irvin. And your way at Ashland is now dropped to 19. Satellite weather composite, clear skies, calm winds. Reason why temps are dropping below 20, as well as the rest of us in the 20s. High pressure means nothing but a good deal of sunshine as we head through the day. For today, in fact, forecast highs this afternoon will top out into the lower 50s. More about the first alert 7-day forecast and that next opportunity for rainfall coming up in just a few moments. Olivia?
Thank you, Tim. We are a little more than halfway through American Heart Month, and UK health professionals want to remind you how serious heart disease is. Doctors tell us it's the #1 killer in men and women, and more than 30 people die from it in Kentucky every day. Now, one Kentucky nurse who is usually the first person you see in an emergency is telling Grayson Passmore about the time he needed help.
The thing that started to really scare me is I was like, I am in a hotel room by myself, and I need to get out of here. This is where they find people.
An emergency department nurse of 47 years, Terry Foster checked into the Campbell House Hotel the night before he was supposed to speak at the Kentucky Emergency Nurses Association conference. It was around 5 a.m. when he started to feel some discomfort in his chest, and just an hour later, he would find himself in need of emergency care.
I just walked down and I said, I need help. And they looked at me and they said, you look like hell. And I felt like it.
Foster was having a heart attack. It was 3 UK healthcare nurses setting up in the hotel lobby who called 911.
I remember thinking I would have done the same thing, or I'm glad they're doing that.
Foster was rushed to UK's cardiac cath lab. A stent was placed to stop the heart attack. Foster is back home with his family. Chief of Cardiology, Dr. Vincent Sorrell, says that initial discomfort Foster felt is just one of the typical symptoms.
Maybe a pressure, a tightness, or a fullness sensation. Could be something as simple as a burning. We usually tell our patients if it's something you haven't experienced before, something new, that should be a concern.
Dr. Sorrell says alert a loved one immediately. It could save your life.
In fact, only about half the people survive their first big heart attack.
A fact Foster is certain not to take for granted. In Lexington, Grayson Passmore, WKYT.
Dr. Sorrell stresses the importance of routine checkups, especially if you have high blood pressure, family history, or other issues to heart disease. Do any of these names ring a bell to you? Stephen Bishop, Materson Bransford, or Nicholas Bransford? These were just a few of the African-American slaves who were brought to Mammoth Cave to assist in educating the public. Yesterday, Mammoth Cave invited the public to learn more about their history during Black History Month. One of the park rangers spoke to the public about the impact these individuals had on the local area.
And And you see this being mentioned in travel accounts. People would talk about these people by name. Slaves were rarely mentioned by name. It was just name, basically numbers and gender. Now we have people talking about them by name.
If you or your family would like to learn more about the historical impact, Mammoth Cave is hosting another tour next Sunday, February 25th, and it's free for all to join. The Pine Mountain Partnership is hosting several events this week to update and get feedback on several projects in Letcher County. WYMT's RJ Johnson has more.
Imagine Letcher, an initiative started by the Pine Mountain Partnership to let people know about upcoming projects throughout the county.
We have an exciting series of meetings coming up called Imagine Letcher. This is an initiative we did right after the flood to kind of highlight some of the projects that are being worked on in Letcher County and to seek funding for those projects. Things like water and sewer infrastructure and tourism assets are mainly at the forefront, but there's all kinds of other things as well.
Executive Director Jeffrey Justice says they want folks in the community to know what's going on while also getting their input.
But we also want to hear feedback. We're not too far along in any of these projects that if we hear good ideas, we can't make those changes now. So we're excited to hear what people have to say about what's going on in Letcher County.
There are a total of 4 meetings on Wednesday and Thursday in several parts of the county, allowing folks several opportunities to take part in the discussion.
So half of our workforce actually works outside of the county, so we want to give those folks that are working and busy an opportunity to come back into the county and have their voice heard as well, in addition to the lunch meetings for people that work and live inside the county that can have their voice heard as well.
To help imagine the future of the various projects. In Letcher County, RJ Johnson, WYMT Mountain News.
Justice says these sessions are free and open to the public. For a link to register, you can find this story on our website. Community members in Pikeville got to experience a monstrous tourist attraction. The Appalachian Wireless Arena hosted the No Limits Monster Trucks and Thrill Show for folks to come out and enjoy. Appalachian Wireless Arena General Manager Larry Miller says the best part about this is seeing the smile on all the kids' faces. Miller says the event is designed around giving the kids something to look forward to.
And it's for the younger audience to give them something to do. You know, we enjoy having those kiddos run through the building and have a good time. They get to go down and see the monster trucks. Economic impact's not bad for the city of Pikeville. The mayor and the commission, they really enjoy having everyone downtown. And, you know, Pikeville's one of the prettiest little towns in eastern Kentucky, so we like to showcase that.
Miller says the impact stretches citywide and gives Eastern Kentuckians something to look forward to without having to drive so far. Folks in Western Kentucky are preparing for this spring's solar eclipse on April 8th. Experts are reminding people to wear eclipse glasses, and hundreds of thousands of people are expected to travel to the western part of the state and neighboring states. If you plan to drive the distance to see the eclipse, road experts remind you that travel times may be impacted.
And a good Monday morning. Temperatures have fallen back into the teens in a number of locations like Ashland and Irvin and Clintwood, as well as Jacksboro. In Hazard right now, we've dropped a couple of degrees since about 5:45. Now at 25 degrees. Satellite radar composite, just some clouds scooting across our southeastern counties over the last few hours. They're well out to the east now. High pressure building in means we've got nothing but a good deal of sunshine as we head through the day for your Monday. Temps rising into the lower 40s by 11 a.m. We'll top out in the lower 50s with a lot of sunshine and Kentucky blue sky heading through this afternoon. When's our next chance of precipitation? Do we have any more cold air like we had this weekend in the horizon as well, or on the horizon rather? Details with the First Alert 7-day forecast coming up in just a few moments. Olivia?
All right, thank you, Tim, and thanks for joining Mountain News this morning. More news is on the way. Coming up, it's back to the campaign trail for GOP frontrunner and former President Donald Trump, just days after he slammed with a massive fine in a New York courtroom.